And the guests keep it rolling in. Welcome, Natalia, to the channel. Everybody, welcome to Disorderland. Today I'm joined by Natalia Moneta. She has an Instagram account that she is very, very active with that talks about obsessive compulsive personality disorder. Most of her content is in Spanish, and I have it written down here. So for my English audience, obsessive compulsive personality disorder, if you've ever been curious in Spanish, is trastorno obsesivo compulsivo de personalidad. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
That close?
Perfect.
Okay. So anyway, Natalia, welcome to My Life in the Brie. I'm super happy to have you here today. We've got some really interesting topics that we've decided we want to go over together. When were you first aware that OCPD, it exists, that it's something that's out there that people have? When did you first become aware of those four letters and what they mean and how that applies to you?
It was a surprise for me because I was diagnosed by OCPD, and I said, "What is that?" But I could see that when I do things, when I work, for example, I am not so efficient. Why? Because I am focused in too much detail, and that's OCPD for me. That's what I hate about OCPD, because you may say, "Oh, your work is perfect. You do it perfect. Oh, it's wonderful." Yes, but I wish I could do it a little bit less perfect.
Yeah,
I
a
could
little
do
bit
it
more efficient.
faster, a little more less efficient and more faster, because I want to be more efficient. Yes.
You mentioned a lot of important things there. One, which is that a lot of people just see the end result. They see kind of this perfect house or somebody that's perfectly put together, and they think that's great, but they don't know how much time we potentially wasted to get to that point. Since we've been talking, you're pretty heavily involved in, let's call it the world of OCPD. And what I mean by that is you spend a lot of time helping people that are impacted by OCPD. And so aside from having that diagnosis and then getting treated, what motivated you or what got you into wanting to work with people with OCPD?
Well, when I started treatment, I was very scared, because it always happens. And when you get better in your treatment, you look back and you think, I want to help that people that was in my place, because I know how they feel. I were in their shoes, so I know how they feel, and I want to help them. How? And you think, how can you help someone? You have to just talk by talking, because when someone who has a mental disorder hears you speaking, he may think, "Oh, the same happens to me. I am not the only one." And when you hear someone speaking and telling you that the therapy is efficient and the therapy works, it's a hope message. So I want to spread that hope message. Therapy works and meds works, and my life has changed a lot because of that. And so I want to tell the people that is now where I was in 2 years ago. I was desperate. I got help, help at the age of 42 years old. At the age of 20, I was diagnosed with OCD, and I did psychoanalysis in that time. But my OCD was different. It was a different kind. The problem was that I could not sleep very well. I struggled to sleep. And then I did psychoanalysis, and so it helped me in that moment. But then I start university, studying, going on with my life, and I forgot about therapy. But at the age of my 30s, my best friend died because of cancer.
Hmm.
And Daryl, that stressful situations leads
Of
to
course, yeah,
get
of course.
mental health disorders worse. They like
Yeah,
explode. So it was something. I started to notice my OCD more stronger. Okay, but
hmm,
then, when I was diagnosed with cancer, my OCD exploded definitely. So I had
yeah, for
to
sure.
look for help to go on with my life because I was like stuck. When you have OCD, you can't see the future. You can see ahead. You have a tree here, and you can't see further. So I start therapy, and I got very well. I start feeling very well, and my life have changed a lot.
Yeah, and that's really really admirable. I think that anybody that goes through this and then can find the energy to then spend their time helping other people, that's not an easy thing to do, even if you're feeling better after going through the therapeutic process and coming out the other end of it. So that's a little bit of your backstory for the audience, but we wanted to talk today about OCPD and OCD. Let's talk about why the differences and why comparing those is personally important to you, and then we can get into the main similarities and the main differences, what to look for, what to talk to your doctor about. But why are you personally invested in both of those disorders?
Yes, OCD versus OCPD. Okay, I have both OCD and OCPD,
Yeah.
so they overlap. They all do overlap in my life. For example, when I am trying the clothes and I put the clothes clip, I am struggling with OCD. Why? Because I put it once and I think that don't that doesn't feel good. I
Right.
will do it again, and I put it again, and then I think I feel anxious, I feel uncomfortable, and I feel very bad. It's a very distressing moment. When I think it's not good, it feels uncomfortable. So
Hmm.
you may think, how can that be possible? OCD is not a rational thing; it's irrational. So when
Hmm.
you have there and you feel uncomfortable and you feel the you want to do it again and again and again,
Right.
okay, that's a compulsion. A compulsion is doing repeatedly movements. You don't do it once, you do it once, twice. You can do it even 10 times, 20 times. You can't imagine how many times you can do it. There is no roof. There is no roof because you have sometimes you have like a fall compulsions, all compulsions. I had my roof was 90 compulsions, but no because of the in other topics. But for example, you put it there and you feel uncomfortable, so you think I have to do it again so I can feel comfortable. Yes, I do it again, and I feel relaxed.
Yeah, and I think that's a very, very simple and very good way
Okay.
of breaking down one of the main differences, right? Which is a feeling versus a thought. So you talked
Yes.
about when you're doing the laundry and organizing the clothes. Somebody with OCPD thinks that that is the right way to do it.
Yes.
There's not really a feeling involved, right? You just think that everybody should be doing laundry this way because this is the best, most efficient, most organized,
Yes. But
intellectual way to do this task.
yes.
And that really is the crux, the heart of what OCPD is, right? It's a thought process. It's a thought that you have versus OCD,
Yeah.
which is a feeling, right? You put the clothespin in one place on the line and it doesn't feel right, and you move it and it doesn't feel right, and you move it and it doesn't feel right, and you keep doing that. And like you said, that's the compulsion. When you talk about the compulsion in OCPD, it is usually a compulsion that is born out of a thought, whereas in OCD, it's a compulsion born out of a feeling. So already I think you've made my video or this video better than the other two videos, because that's a very, very nice way of breaking it down.
But let me tell you, Daryl, but that I feel there are feelings involved in my OCPD. Not
Mm-hmm.
at the moment, because as you say, at the moment you think that's the right way to do that, and I do that because I consider that's the exactly best way I can do that. But then 5 minutes later, you think, oh, I wish I, in the moment, you think I want to do it the best. I want to do it perfect. But five
Yeah.
minutes later, you think, oh, I spent a lot of time doing that, and I feel anger after.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I have no feelings in the moment, but then in my experience, I experienced something that, oh, okay, it's been an hour and so much time spent on doing that. So the feeling, yes, is becomes next to the action. And in
Absolutely. Yeah.
yes, but in OCD, you in the moment feel like it's not panic attack. It's not, but you feel anxiety, you feel very bad, you feel distress, you feel everything. It's a horrible moment. And when you think it's all the whole day like this, OCD, it's just a nightmare. It's just a nightmare. And OCPD, it hurts also, but OCPD, I don't know, Daryl, you are a pure OCPD. I am not.
Mm-hmm.
Do you struggle with that stress or that you feel really bad when you are at the moment doing things perfectly?
There's kind of two parts to that. One is the horrible feelings that come up as a result of procrastinating or
Ah,
taking too long with something, or the stress that comes from wanting to get something, just right. And there's so many different ways that can apply to the life of somebody that has OCPD. It can be with something that doesn't carry a lot of weight or importance. Something I've talked about on this channel, which is playing the guitar, something I've done off and on my whole life, but because I never feel as though I'm learning fast enough for myself, then it's something that I don't stick with. I get very frustrated with it. I don't get the enjoyment out of that I'm supposed to, versus wanting to or needing to complete a work project or a
yeah,
school project, something that's really, really important and does have a lot of weight. It applies kind of all over your life in different areas, some important, some not. And then there is the feelings that you talked about, which is after the fact.
yeah.
And that I think really only applies to people that are aware that there is something going on with them, because many people with OCPD are not aware.
Are not
But if you
alive.
are aware, if you're somebody that thinks it's normal, then probably you're not going to have those feelings of regret and frustration. But if you're like us and you are aware of it, then after the fact you're going to be frustrated with yourself. You're going to be disappointed in yourself, because you're going to think, oh, there's another task that I took too long with, or that I didn't finish because I was too wrapped up in getting it just so or just right. So yeah, I do experience all of those feelings at different times in regards to OCPD. And what I was saying earlier about feelings versus thoughts, yeah, definitely that applies to kind of the compulsion in the moment. I do know that there's a lot of people out there that think that people with OCPD don't have a lot of emotion, but that definitely isn't true. I've spoken to a lot of people with OCPD, and there's a big range of people. So there are people that are very stoic and they don't have a lot of emotion, and then there's
No.
people that would consider themselves to be overly emotional. So I don't think that has really any bearing on whether you have OCPD or not. But we do have feelings, we do have regrets, and we do have sadness. We can be emotional about the struggle of having OCPD.
In the moment when you are doing things perfectly, I enjoy it. I enjoy
Hmm.
being the results and thinking, oh, nobody could have done it better than me. It's a joy moment. It's wonderful. But 5 minutes then you think, oh, okay, I wish I could do it faster. So it's a dual feeling. It's you are fighting with yourself. You have one angel and one demon. The angel
Right.
says, oh, do it perfect, it's nice, you are doing very
Yeah.
well. And the demon is doing, do it faster, you can
Yeah.
I don't have the whole day to do this. So it's
Right.
something. Yes, I feel that.
Yeah.
And I
It,
personally got
yeah.
obsessed with doing things fast.
I think for people that have OCPD and are not aware, there's a certain struggle that they go through, and that usually involves other people. Because
Yes.
if you have OCPD, there's a thought process, right? And that thought process leads you to believe that you are right about everything.
Yeah.
And so after you finish doing something, you generally aren't experiencing those feelings of regret. What ends up happening is that those actions that you took have consequences in your life. And those consequences could be damaging a relationship that you're in. If you're working for somebody, maybe you're not doing a good job working for them. If you're in school, maybe you're not finishing assignments, but it's impacting the relationships that you have with people
Yes.
and how they view you and how they interact with you. Once you receive an OCPD diagnosis and you accept that diagnosis, then it flips to more of an internal struggle, because then you recognize
Yes.
what you're talking about, which is
Yes.
I did that thing and I did it in an OCPD way, and
And it
I
hurts.
see that I did that, and I regret that, and I wish I could have done it more efficiently. I wish I could have left that mess there because there was something more important. And I guess that's another thing that's important to mention too, is we're not talking about going from being too clean to leaving messes everywhere because that's better for our mental health. It's better for our lives. It's better for our relationships, right? It's better for the things that we want to accomplish, because instead of spending 2 hours cleaning up a mess, we can spend 2 hours practicing the guitar, or we can spend 2 hours building a deeper relationship with somebody that we, maybe a family member or somebody that we are dating or somebody that we're married to, right? So we can spend that time in better
In
ways
better way.
than trying to have this kind of perfectionist mentality in all of the different things we do. And unfortunately, it doesn't always, but most of the time, we kind of apply that to everything. So it's not just one thing. It's not just cleaning clothes where we are trying to get it just right. It's everything. So there's not enough hours, right? As I said in my last video, this interruption was going to happen one last time. We lost the video footage again. Don't worry, the problem is solved for all of my future videos, but for now, please bear with me this one last time, and let's get back to Natalia.
When you have the diagnosis of OCPD, it hurts because you think, I thought it was right and it's not. And you start recognizing the things that you are losing because of perfection. When you receive a diagnosis of OCPD, you feel it hurts. Why it hurts? Because you think, you start thinking about all the time that you spent doing things perfect, and that time you could have spend it in other things with another people and sharing with others and living, having spare time. I think OCPD people who has OCPD struggles with spare time. There is no spare time. Don't you struggle with that, Dari?
Yeah, for sure. It's called obsessive compulsive personality disorder or obsessive compulsive disorder. Right off the bat, it's easy to confuse the two just in name alone, right? They haven't made it easy for us with either of the disorder to clearly explain what's going on with us. So even if more people knew about obsessive compulsive personality disorder, because it's very, very few people know about it, it would still be hard to convey what the issue is or what we're experiencing, because the names are so similar. And externally, a lot of the things that we do can look like either one of the disorders. And it's easy for people from an outside perspective to conflate or confuse the two because the symptoms can look very close and the names are very close. But we both know that they're not very close at all as far as living
No,
with them and
no.
experiencing them. They're very, very different. And you talk about the horrible feelings that go along with obsessive compulsive disorder versus really the negative impact that having obsessive compulsive personality disorder can have on your life. Those are two bad things, but they're also two very
Yes.
different things. And another question I get is people say, well, which one is worse? And I think that I don't think you can quantify which one is worse. But on a personal level, is there one that you think was more difficult to live with than the other, or one
No,
that required more therapy, or it was just different times of the day, one was having a more of an impact than the other one?
I cannot say that OCPD is better or worse than OCD, but I think that surely having OCD plus OCPD is worse than having only one of two of them,
Right.
because for the person who has it, it's
Of course, yeah.
10%. But I think because I am used to, but the two disorders are very different, but they overlap, and they do things more complicated, more complicated.
So I want to go on to the next subject as well because it's more hopeful. We're going to talk about the options that are available as far as therapy and treatments are concerned. But I did want to let you kind of have the last word. So before we move on to that topic, is there anything else that you wanted to say in regards to what people should know about OCD and what people should know about OCPD, or do you think that we've covered it?
Yes, I want to talk about a specific topic that because people who are listening may think, oh, okay, I had to check if the door was correctly closed. So do I have OCD? No, you don't have OCD, because if you do it, if you do check, you check things, everybody checks things, but when you do it once or twice or three times a day, it's not the problem. The problem is when you get stuck in your life because of that, when it is 24 hours thinking about, you are wondering, you wonder if the door is closed, and you wonder if you said something wrong, and you wonder if that, for example, when I take my meds, I take the med and I take the glass of water,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, 5 seconds later, I am wondering, did I take the pill? So you may think that's not, nah, you can do that. That's not true. Yes, that's true. And that happened to me today. And you think, but you did it. Yes, but it's OCD when it's multiplicates with it's
Right.
your whole day like that. And OCPD, it's the same, because if you want to put that in a correct way, and you want to have everything clean, and you are okay with that, you don't have OCPD. You have OCPD when it's a disorder, something that struggles in your life, that doesn't allow you to live a normal life. It makes you get stuck. And so it's a difference between checking once and doing something perfect, versus having a disorder. It's not the same. So if you have if you're wondering, do I have OCD, you have to go to a professional who knows it, because the limit sometimes may be very thin, and you are not capable of to decide that. So if you have adapt, you have to go to a professional.
We both are not we are not mental health professionals, so we're not in a place to
No.
diagnose anybody. We're both here talking from our own perspective, our own point of
Yes.
view, our own experience. And one of the reasons that I've been excited to do some collaborations recently on my channel is because I felt from the beginning of this channel, or close to the beginning of this channel anyway, that I didn't like the fact that it's been one voice, that it's just been my experience and my point of view on the topic. So it's been really, really nice having you here today so that we could discuss these things from somebody else's perspective, somebody else's point of view. But if you're watching these videos, it's usually one of two reasons. It's either you're concerned about somebody in your life that you think may have OCPD, or you're struggling with something. Is that something OCD? Is that something OCPD? Is it something else entirely? We don't know, but we do know that you're here for a reason and that you're probably having a hard time with something. And our advice to you 100%, right, is going to be that you go see a mental health professional, which is going to bring
Yeah.
us into our next topic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say thank you so much, Natalia, for joining me for this topic. And we'll say goodbye for now, and then we'll continue the conversation in the next video.
Okay.
And again, I'm Daryl. This has been My Life in Debris, and thank you so much for joining me, Natalia.
Thanks, Daryl. Okay.
Thank you, Natalia, for the engaging conversation. We're just getting started, though, so tune in next week when we dig into the topic of finding the right treatment options. Until then, this is still My Life in Debris.
Age of 20, I was diagnosed with OC. No, wait.